Ladies and gentlemen, I am beyond stoked because our swap project engine is here and it's not what you expected us to go with for the Mighty Max. Hey, there actually is a handful of new parts on this too. What's up everybody, how's it going? And welcome to this episode of Car Rant. If you're new around here, we do builds, we do reviews, and we have candid conversations about cars. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around because today is a special one. Y'all, after years of doing Japanese stuff on this channel, we are finally branching out. We're doing something new. In my friend's pickup truck sits a motor that I have been a huge fan of for a long time and actually has a little bit of sentimental value to me. My grandfather, as some of you might know, was a stock car driver at one point in time, and he himself raced on these types of engines, and the last car he ever drove had one. So very excited to see what it's going to be like living in the Mighty Max. Some of you might remember that we were going to go with an LS in the Mighty Max, but instead I got a really sweet deal, a really cool old school motor, and while it's probably still going to need a lot of work, totally fine with it. It's part of our build series for the Mighty Max. We got a 351 Windsor. There's actually a handful of new parts on this thing still. That's pretty cool. All we know is it's on an automatic that's like brand new and rebuilt, but probably just gonna sell that and go with the manual. So, man, I'm so excited for this. There you go, bud. Sweet. Good old Canada power. That is a big water pump. Holy cow, dude. So this is our 351 Windsor. We got this from a gentleman in Frederick. Huge shout out to you, Mr. Becker. You're a good man. He originally was going to put this into a 68 Mustang. And instead of going the Mustang route, he's opted, well, to build Jeeps instead. So he just had it sitting around for a year. It came from a running car, but it is missing a lot of components, namely that intake assembly is definitely not there because otherwise we wouldn't be able to stick the starter on top of the block to transport it home. The transmission that you may or may not see, I think is out of camera for you guys, is old, but it's been fully rebuilt. It's an automatic, so we're not going to use it, but it's just cool knowing that I got some cool, nice stuff I can sell later on. As far as plans for this engine goes, the plan is to strip this thing down, refresh every single gasket, bearing, whatever. We want to make sure that this is as healthy as possible, and if that means we got to take it all the way apart and get the block tanked and everything else, and that's what we do. I want to do right on this project, and this is going to be an engine that gets put through a lot of abuse and use when it's done, because we are going to drift on this, and we're also going to do daily life on this, because this is going into my company truck. Yes, the Mighty Max that you guys are familiar with on this channel will have this behemoth of an engine shoved inside of it, and I couldn't be more excited. So I know a lot of people were expecting us to go LS because in our social medias, links down below, I had announced that we were going to go LS. I was convinced that I was going to get an old 5.3 or an iron block of some variety, tune it up, throw it in the truck, and call it a day, because it is a very common swap. It's very easily done. Parts aren't too bad, etc. But I had actually gotten into a conversation with Ian's mom, who we've taken drifting on the channel. Like, she's very familiar with us doing sports car things. And I just, we were shooting the breeze, talking about stuff with life and the engines and the cars and whatnot. And she had brought up her sister's Ranger. And I said, you could throw an old iron block Ford in there. You throw in like a 351 Windsor. And of course, me saying this then got me going, wait, I could throw in a 351 Windsor. Of course, the more I researched it, I then realized that this was an engine that my grandfather was super well versed in, and I have a lot of those tools still in his old toolbox. One of the most notable cars he ever drove was actually a 1944 two-door that he had a Windsor in, and he raced it on a dirt oval and had some pretty moderate success. If you're interested, look at Wiseglass Speedway. There's not a lot of information about it anymore, as it doesn't exist any longer. It's now Staten Island Dump. But yeah, that's where he used to go racing. But one of the last cars he ever owned and drove was this beautiful beige on gold, shall we say, Grand Marquis. And As an adult, I wish I still had that car. It's a gorgeous car. It was super well maintained, literally no rust that I could ever see or think of. It was beautiful and pristine, and it ran on a 351 Windsor, which I'm currently leaning on the crane that's holding it. Reminiscing about all the good times that he had, he's one of my main inspirations to get into cars to begin with. He's what got me hooked on the Coke bottle cars of the 60s and 70s, namely like Muscle-y, Dodges, Chargers, and Challengers. But, you know, the old Fords still stuck out to me, Gran Torinos and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a fun project. I'm gonna be able to honor my grandfather in this build by literally building the same engine that he would have raced on 60 years ago, but today. And before anyone asks, yes, can confirm this is made in Ontario. This is not an Ohio engine, so it's not gonna be mid, it's gonna be good. But with that said, thank you all for watching. Thank you for seeing the precursor of greatness that is to come for this channel. I'm very excited about this project. We are actually gonna be on a small film hiatus for a little while, getting all of the content made. We wanna do it as like a full complete build series like some of these other channels do. Also because I'm editing everything. My dad's gonna be here for some of this, doing this with us, because he's a big fan of old V8s, and I could not, in good conscience, do a V8 build on the channel and not have my father involved. So there's gonna be some time constraints that we have to play with because of that. So bear with us. We're still gonna do the news. John's still gonna do F1 content, and we'll see you guys in another episode. So stick around and see what we can do with this big boy. God bless y'all, and peace.